having a good day. Stop jamming out to music.
Why can't I jam out to music?
This is not your weekend.
This is a jam. This is a jam. Way up Furman High. So finally, here's the catch can setup I am going to be running. I don't want to get too far into it right now because we could talk about catch cans for a long time. But I ended up going, this is a Busher catch can. People have a lot of different opinions on the catch cans. I spent so much time researching and talking to a lot of people about different catch can setups and the pros and the cons. Normally this one comes from Busher. It's like it's a good looking like brushed aluminum, I believe. And I asked them to hit it with just some black paint, and it looks really, really good. They just hit it with whatever paint they had there. I told them, yeah, I know you guys sell the GTRs with the black with the red filter. And they're like, yeah, no problem. We'll just hook you up. We'll get you that done. They didn't even charge me for it. So that just tells you a little bit about those guys over there. Just a great group of guys to work with. And additionally, so just for safety, this here is the dipstick. This is a retaining spring, so it goes right on top of the dipstick. Sometimes when these guys are running higher boost levels, which right now I will not be, I'll probably ask the tuner for 25 pounds to start off with the break-in tune. But this thing here will keep that dipstick from popping out when it gets under too much pressure, because when that happens, then people get oil all over their engine bay, and I would just be so distraught if that were the case. So that's just a measure of security right there. A really good investment, I think of $3 or something like that, just to have that peace of mind. And as you guys can tell, that is kind of the idea of the build, is to just have good peace of mind. All right, and over here we've got just a couple miscellaneous, all the fluids. So I got the OEM coolant, 2 of those. This here is for the transmission. This is the oil for the transmission, and that is also referred to as Diaqueen. It's the only thing I run in the Evo. A lot of people run in Red Line or Cocktail or whatever. Everyone knows that for the 6-speed, this is the secret recipe, and yeah, I suggest you do the same if you're running a 6-speed as well. And then we just got, for the transfer case and the rear diff, we got the SAE90. A couple of oil filters for the break-in. And the first oil in here I have this purple, it's Royal Purple Ice, and what this is a cooling system optimizer and conditioner. It says here that it maximizes temperature reduction, fights corrosion, electrolysis, and erosion. So if you never heard of it, type it in and watch a video on it, and the science behind it is pretty cool. I never monitored my coolant temps prior, so I won't be able to give like if my car is running cooler, plus it's a whole new engine, so I wouldn't have an idea how to test that. But yeah, I looked at it, got good reviews from people, a lot of people, and it seems like it's just worth running, and it's only like $12, so I figured why not. I also have a couple things here I forgot about. So this one here, this is just some nice pieces. This is a new one that just came out. This is the Race Art. You might have seen them. They've been running a lot of ads, and this is for your 3-port solenoid for your boost controller, so it can just kind of mount up against the firewall or wherever you want to mount it up. So that'll be a nice little touch, a nice little addition. I think when it gets down to it, it's all the little things that make a big difference. So like this is the coolant overflow, the STM, just a nice black STM. It's going to be really fresh. It's right in front of the engine bay, so it's something that catches your eye right away. The APR carbon fiber cooling plate. Another thing that kind of kicks you right in the face right when you open it up. And so that right there is, let's go this way. This is the APR cooling plate, carbon fiber, channels air to the radiator while looking really good at the same time. So, and here's some more good news. As I opened up the manifold, FP, I guess I did order the stud kit, and so this looks to be all black. So that problem I had mentioned before shouldn't be a problem here. So that's one less thing that I got to worry about. And yeah, they just stuck it right inside the runners there. So good on ya. Okay, so final shipment came in of things that I ordered. And here's the bracket assembly for the oil filter. I got it from STM. Get all my OEM parts through them. Came oiled, no rust. This is the part that the oil filter mounts up to. And so the mechanic told me he'd be able to clean the old one, but no promises. So I just went ahead and got a new one. Keep it safe. Moving right along here, I have the Torque Solution motor mount. This is the front motor mount. That's what they call the front motor mount. It is actually, you're not going to be able to see it, so it'll actually be behind. I think it's by the backside near the transfer case, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm only going to get one new motor mount. The rest of them are going to be the stock ones because I want to not have such a harsh ride. But off a recommendation from Brandon Schaub, I also read some stuff online about switching out that front motor mount, and it'll stiffen it up a little bit without going too far over the edge, and going into full race mode. So with drivability in mind, that's one of the main things about the build. One that I'm super excited. I just got it. It's one of the last pieces that I got. The Tomei oil baffle and oil slicer. Here it comes, the directions and the little bit of hardware there for installation, some gaskets. Here's the baffle, and this is the slicer, the oil slicer. The purpose of the oil slicer is it literally cleans off the crank of all the extra oil that it kind of accumulates down there. And so what that does is free it up, so when you get in the higher rev range, you'll be able to get a little bit more power in the higher revs and a little bit more torque. And the baffle here as well just kind of monitors for oil pressure, make sure that we have constant, or helps with the oil pressure to all the components to the engine. So super important piece. Looks beautiful. It is a shame though that that'll be on the inside of the engine right on top of the oil pan. So we won't be able to see that. So let's take a nice long look at it right there, and we will know it is in there doing its job. And this is a new crank sensor. Yeah, crankshaft angle position sensor, and the trigger plate for that as well. Okay, and this one here is from Innovate Sports. This is the gauge that I'm going to run. So I have a boost gauge currently. I can't remember who it's by, but it's just an analog gauge. I'm not a big fan of the digital, and I don't want to have a ton of gauges. So this whole system is a 4-in-1. And so the main reason I ended up getting it was because it's an ethanol, like a content analyzer. And so what you get here is you get the ethanol content, tells you what percentage of ethanol you're running, because I guess here in California, E85 is pretty rare to come by. A lot of times you'll get like E70 or somewhere in between E70 and E85. So it's good to know what you're running. I was talking to Steven, he was telling me that when he tunes it, he probably wouldn't tune it for E85. He would make it safe, so it'd be something around like E70. So anything above E70 would be good to go. But you still want to monitor that percentage of ethanol. It's also going to have a wideband. So I'm currently running a wideband in there, and I'm not a fan of the digital gauge. It's just too much. It's the red and green lights. It's bright. It's too much for the car. This will be a lot more low key. It'll be one little square over there. I think it's going to be up in the top left. Top right will be the ethanol content, and on the bottom here you're going to have fuel pressure and fuel temperature. So you have all four of those, which will be super nice, super convenient. I only have a two gauge pod right there on top of the steering wheel, so I'll have 4-in-1 on the left, and I'll have the boost on the right, and I'll be good to go. I don't want to clutter my car with a whole bunch of different gauges. So this was an awesome find. I didn't even know it was a thing until Steven told me about it. I went online, found it, bought it, and I'm super excited to be running this piece. Obviously it's got a lot of different things here. I will not be installing this. I will leave it up to them to install it. But you got your wideband sensor, you got all your stuff here. This is the 4-bar map sensor. Yeah, everything you need here for the install. So that's something I'm super excited about, and I can't wait for that to be in the car so I can have some fun and keep an eye on my levels while I'm doing the day-to-day. All right, and finally here is the Odyssey battery I'm going to be running. It's going to be a full-size battery. It'll be in the trunk. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know what all the specifics are on this, but I do know when I looked it up. Here's all the specifics if you want to know. It's right there. But yeah, I know this will be good for daily driving. I shouldn't have to worry about if the car sits for a couple days, you know, with the small battery kit, having to recharge that battery. This has a lot of life in it. It's very powerful. It's good cold start cranking amps. One thing, if you do go with Odyssey, I ordered it, got it, took a look at it, realized you have to buy these terminals separately. So I went on Amazon and just got those for a few bucks. Make sure you get those at the same time if that's what you're gonna do.